Hey, Francisco, welcome to the show.
Hey, how's it going? Glad to be on, man. Thanks for having me. I'm glad you reached out to me, dude.
Now, it's a pleasure to have you on. Now, you're the host of the Baseball Grind podcast. Now, people can follow you on IG at the Baseball Grind Pod, as well as Twitter, baseball underscore grind without the I there. So, little trickery there.
Someone else has it with the I. I don't know who it is.
It's always annoying. But yeah, well, welcome to the show. And, I gotta say, I look at your background. Obviously, you're a Brewers fan, but your podcast is basically general baseball, both majors and minors. So, tell us a little about it.
So I'm gonna correct you there. I'm actually a diehard Oakland A's fan,
Wow, way off on
and the
that one. Sorry.
Brewers are my NL team. So I grew up in the Bay Area, grew up in Oakland, and then I moved to Wisconsin about 6 years ago. So now I cheer for the Brewers. They're my NL team, but like my one true love will always be Oakland. But yeah, so my podcast, like you mentioned, the Baseball Grind, it actually started off as a Brewers podcast. Funny enough, I had a couple co-hosts, and then I kind of got tired, honestly, of just talking about one team every single day, and it's like, oh, the Brewers can pitch, but they can't hit. Oh, they can pitch, but they can't hit. Is Yelich washed? Is he back? I kind of got tired of talking the same thing over and over again, so I reached out to a couple guys that I knew in the Brewers minor league system. They decided to come on. And like 80 something episodes later, I've interviewed over 80 different baseball players, major leaguers, minor leaguers, just sharing their baseball grind and their baseball journey, man. It's been incredible.
All right, yeah, kind of threw me off a little bit because I saw in your Twitter handle you have the Golden State Warriors, jacket on. So I was like a little thrown off there. But I know some people flipping teams that like,
Yeah, no, I grew up an A's fan, Warriors fan, and Oakland Raiders fan. Now Las Vegas, RIP to Oakland. They're losing all their teams.
gotcha. Yeah, and I see the Oakland right now, like a lot of fans protesting this. Of course, obviously that franchise is obviously moving. What's just your personal feelings on that then?
Oh man, I actually did a video about this, and it was probably one of the harder videos I've done because like I said, I grew up a big A's fan. Me and my sisters are actually they're doing a reverse protest or whatever you want to call it, like the anti-protest reverse boycott. My sisters are actually at the game tonight, or they're going to be at the game. It's still 2 hours behind us, but they'll be at that game. At my wedding, I wore custom A's jerseys. Me and my wife to our reception. We walked out. We had A's jerseys on. So big baseball fans, big A's fans. And then when I heard the news that they're moving, I mean, they've been kind of like flirting with the idea for years, but it never happened. But now it seems like it's actually gaining some momentum. But knowing John Fisher and the Oakland A's, they'll find some way to like shoot themselves in the foot, and who really knows what's going to happen. But I'm not happy with it. I think they're kind of screwing over all of Oakland, right? We lost their Warriors. They moved to San Francisco. At least they're somewhat close, but it's a whole different vibe when you go into San Francisco. It's more corporate versus Oakland. And then they lost the Raiders who went to Las Vegas, and now they're losing the Oakland A's, which is, again, it really sucks. If I lived in Oakland still or in the Bay Area, I would be so much more upset. But since I kind of already left the whole state myself, it kind of softens the blow. And plus, I'd rather visit Vegas now than Oakland, if I'm being honest. But overall, in general, I think it's a travesty. I think they should not be taking away that team.
No, I agree. And like, what's like the issue? Like, I mean, they just can't get their own stadium built. Like, what's always the holdback with them?
Uh, so all right. So, if, like, long story short, a history lesson. The Giants used to be in New York, and they moved to California, and Oakland A's basically gave them territorial rights to a lot of that area. So now, if they want to build in some of those major cities, they need permission from the Giants, and the Giants aren't going to give them permission now that the Giants are actually a powerhouse team. Not as much now, but they won 3 World Series in the last couple of years. They won't let the Oakland A's move into different cities in the Bay Area. So now this politics in California when it comes to building is it's terrible. In the city of Oakland, the politics involved, and then the owner John Fisher, who's one of the richer owners, I think he's like the 16th or 17th. He's up there in the middle. He won't spend money, and he wants a stadium that's financed by the city because he doesn't want to put too much of his money into it. And he won't sign any players long term. And like I'm sure every fan of baseball knows the Oakland A's basically trade everybody away. And he's been saying for the last 10, 15 years, once we have a stadium, I'll start signing players. But who really knows, right? I mean, it is what it is. That's just kind of the way they've been for a while, and that's just that Moneyball mentality that he has.
Gotcha. So just getting back to yourself, do you have any sort of background in sports journalism or like that, or you just decided I'm a sports fan, I just wanted to start a podcast?
Literally that. So it's funny how the whole thing started. I never would have thought I'd be interviewing players, major leaguers, guys who I've watched on TV, and now like I have their cell phone numbers and I text them whenever they do good or whatever it may be. Literally 2 years ago, or now maybe 2.5 years, someone had sent me a message on Twitter and said, "Hey, do you want to come on my podcast? I know you're a baseball fan, and just talk for an hour about baseball." I had no idea what a podcast was. I never listened to them. And so I had an Xbox mic that I plugged into my computer, and we talked for an hour. And I was like, this is the coolest thing in the world. Like, I want to do this myself. So I kind of launched that, found a couple guys, and then that's kind of how it started. And then I kind of told you how it branched off into just interview style. Me, I have a co-host who does some of my online podcasts. I'm credentialed for Appleton. That's when I was wearing that Warriors jacket. That's in the Brewers High A team here in Appleton, Wisconsin. So I go there and interview people. I have a Brewers reliever that I'm interviewing again, or interviewing. Yeah, he's been on the pod, so I've interviewed him again on this upcoming Monday in person in Milwaukee. No background in journalism. I used to be a teacher. Like the furthest thing from like sports. And then growing up, I didn't play baseball much. I was a swimmer. I swam all throughout high school. But I just been a baseball fan, season ticket holders, just love the game, love talking about it. And now I can do that and talk to people. And honestly, it's kind of selfish of me because like I'm people will watch it and listen to it and all that stuff, but I'm talking to guys who, most people don't get that opportunity to talk to. And I'm like, I'm never going to take that for granted because it's one of the coolest things ever.
Yeah, must be a great feeling. So like all these interviews you've done, whether it's a major league player or a minor league player, which is like maybe I'm sure you can name a bunch of, but what's like maybe your top 3 or 4, just like
Oh man,
ones that stick
that's
out
a
up for
good
you?
question. I should have thought. Yeah, I was actually just thinking about this not too long ago. Um, I had just my last one with Kobe White. He is on the Rays 40-man roster. He was supposed to be making his call up, or he should have got his major league debut last year or a year and a half, but he got Tommy John. So now he's kind of rehabbing, and he should be pitching for the Rays in the next couple of weeks or months, depending on how it goes with his rehab. One of the coolest guys, super fun to talk to. Southern. Like I don't know, he's just a really good talker. Like just really, it's really interesting to talk to, and had a ton of cool, funny stories. And it was just an absolute blast to talk to. He's probably up there. That was maybe some recency bias, but trying to think who else I've had on that like literally has just been Peter Strzelecki. He's who I'm interviewing again on Monday, but he has one of the cooler stories. And I love telling people about him because he was undrafted, picked up by the Brewers, and now he's one of their 8th-inning setup guys, setting up Devin Williams, who's the best closer in baseball, or one of the top closers in baseball. So Peter Strzelecki was a really cool guy. I'm going to have him on again on Monday. But yeah, man, honestly, they're all great. Like I talk to these guys, I hear their stories, the funnier side of things. Like it's just like I'll give you an example. Kobe White was telling us, I said, what is the weirdest like fan interaction you've ever had? And he said, well, I was in the bullpen and they called a guy to get ready to warm up. So he grabs his glove, a ball, he's throwing a couple of pitches, and then he realizes he needs to use the bathroom. But there's no bathroom in the bullpen. So he finds a garbage can, and in the bullpen, in front of fans, everyone around, he just goes to the bathroom in the garbage can. And I'm like, it's just the weirdest thing. And then I posted that, and a couple guys who were on that team DM'd me like, oh, I was there, or that's true, it really happened. Just hearing these like funny stories like that, like honestly, it's like I said, it's really cool.
Yeah, I always think about that with players. I know Pete Alonso for the Mets had an issue like that where he had to go, and so
I
he just
heard
hit a
about
home run, and then he's ran right into the dugout. So I don't know how those players do that, but that's kind of cool. I just wanted to get back to the minor league player. Is it like maybe a common theme you hear from them? Like this a pattern? This from all again, they're the ones that kind of grinding it out for their dream. Is there any like a common theme you always pick up from them?
Oh, for sure. A lot of it is just guys who believe in themselves, and they're just they. Some of them were undrafted. Some of them were drafted in the 30th round. Some of them are drafted top. I've talked to top draft picks who were like, they're top 10 prospects on their organization. No matter who they are, they all have that same mentality as I need to develop and I need to do whatever I can to make my dream come true to be a pitcher in the big leagues or a first baseman in the big leagues or whatever it may be. Like the common theme is like it's them like they're grinding it out. Now recently they have a union for the minor leaguers, but before then like it was bad, man. Like there's a lot of different stories that I would hear about like the grind that they would go through.
Yeah. Again, I think a couple of years ago with the lockout, I think at least it got them some rights because again, they would have to like pay a lot of stuff out of their own pocket and stuff like that. And yeah, like I said, it was really rough for them. So now again, like what I like about your podcast, you kind of general baseball. So looked at some of your recent videos, and of course, I guess maybe a little Yankee flair on that. We'll look at the Aaron Judge peaking thing. What was your whole deal? What was your whole take on that?
Honestly, it's not illegal. I mean, I doubt he was. He's just a stud. Like, I mean, I think it's kind of a coincidental thing where maybe he was speaking, maybe he wasn't. But I mean, he's one of the best, if not the best player. I think Shohei Ohtani is the best player, but he's right up there. And I think the broadcasters in the Blue Jays booth, I think they may have been, I don't know, maybe a little out of pocket if we're kind of talking about it that way, and maybe speculating while on air. I don't know if that was necessarily the right move by them, but it's not illegal, even if it was. Which I mean, I don't know if he was or not. He said he was looking at the dugout to see who was chirping. I don't know if that's true, but whatever it was, I mean, I think it was a bunch of like nothing, and people just like to hate on the Yankees. Um, so it was a funny video that kind of I liked, and I'm like, you know what, this is a hot topic. I got to talk about it.
Yeah, and I agree with you there. I think the timing of it, like even if they were able to steal the sign to relay that to a coach and then relay that to the bench, and for him to peak that third emotion, it's not enough time. So yeah, I just thought much ado about nothing. And of course, you did one of the other videos that was interesting, obviously highlighting the 400 career save of Craig Kimbrell. It was
Oh
kind of
yeah,
interesting. Like you see him and Jansen now got 400 saves. Like wow, it came so fit. But would you consider both or any of those really Hall of Famers just because they're hitting that goal, or it's just sort of you think of them more compilers?
I think anybody who hits that goal is a Hall of Famer. If you look at the broad body of their work, I mean, I think Kenley Jansen for a couple years, there was kind of that narrative of like, is he gonna blow it in the big game scenario? Kind of like with Kershaw, like in the postseason. Like, can he pitch in the postseason? Yeah, he can pitch in the postseason. He's done and he's won a World Series. I think Kenley Jansen, I think he's on that borderline of Hall of Fame. I think Craig Kimbrell is. I think he's for sure a Hall of Famer. Again, his whole body of work. He came into the league as a closer. That was his. Like they kind of like through the minors, they brought him up to be a reliever, to be a closer, and he's just had an incredible career. But then he also kind of was like, I feel like off the map a little bit. Like we didn't really think about Craig Kimbrell for a couple of years after he left the Braves, but then he came back. And once you hit that milestone, that just shows the longevity of your career, the healthiness that he's had. And then I feel like I don't vote. I don't know. There's people who I think should be in, who aren't in, Barry Bonds, whatever. But so I can't tell you without a shadow of a doubt they're going to be in. But if I had a choice, I think they would both be on there, just for being one of the very few people who can say. I think only 5 or 6 people have that 400 save like marker on their resume, which is incredible.
Yeah, I'm kind of like borderline on both, but I think if they definitely get to 500 at that point, you kind of have to say, hey,
I don't think any of them are going to get to 500. Is Francisco Rodriguez? He's not in the Hall of Fame though, so I mean, maybe they won't then, because K Rod, he was dominant. Like he was He was so good for a while. Um, I don't know. I mean, I guess it just depends on how the voters see it. And maybe if one of them wins one more ring, I think that kind of might solidify their spot there.
You kind of go around baseball, you look at a lot of different players. I'm kind of always like just focus on the Yankees. I'm a Yankee fan, but what's like, I guess outside of like Otani, what's like some exciting players out there that maybe, even a casual baseball fan, wouldn't be, know too much about?
Randy Rosarena with the Rays. That guy is probably one of my favorite players. He's absolutely electric. Just what he did in the World Baseball Classic with Team Mexico, and the whole story behind that, because he's Cuban. No, yeah, he's not even or Dominican. He's not even Mexican, but he somehow convinced the Mexican governor or president to give him citizenship so he could play for Team Mexico. And just with this whole arms crossed when he does that kind of stuff, he's just absolutely electric. He's such a good player. And then one of my favorite players ever is Jazz Chisholm with the Marlins. I think he just has like flair. He's drippy. He's swaggy. I think he kind of brings a younger crowd to watch baseball. I think he's 100% good for baseball. And Luis Ariz with the Marlins, that dude has a chance to hit 400, which hasn't been done since Ted Williams. Like it's something that none of us have seen in our lifetime. And like I think he dropped his batting average to like 392 or 393 because he went 0 for 4 yesterday or whatever. But he is so close to hitting 400 this late in the season. It's like almost unheard of. And in today's game where everyone's striking out, the three outcomes, you home run, walk, or you strike out, it's refreshing to see somebody just put the ball in play. It's not all home runs. Some of them are singles, some of them are doubles, whatever it is. But like, he's just a dynamic player. He's going to be the second person to win the NL batting title after winning the AL batting title. And he's going to be the first person to do it back-to-back years, because there's no way he's not going to win the NL batting title unless he dramatically falls off. I think the next closest person is like in the 300s, like pretty far away from him. So he has a good shot to be the first back-to-back NL or AL, then NL batting champ, which again is completely unheard of. And then one last player, De La Cruz for the Reds. Yuri De La Cruz, like he's just the fastest guy. Like I don't know if you've seen that like chopper to like first. He beat out like a ball that went to first base, that a normal routine ground out. He beat it out. This guy is just absolutely like electric. And the Reds, they got some young talent. Like they got some dudes who are, they're exciting to watch. I mean, I never really cheered for them, but I'm more now kind of being a fan of the game. And like they're absolutely, he's must watch TV.
And like a Reds an organization, I would like to see them, even though, I don't do anything, but I like to see them turning around a bit, because they've kind of been in the pits for a while. And we see with Baltimore Orioles, obviously, after many years of them struggling, now they're finally a legit team
and
now.
The Pirates.
At least. And the Pirates as well. So it's just good to see. Now, I actually want to get into that with baseball. I mean, obviously, you look at the Rays and AL East, they kind of a biggish lead, but not that crazy. But really, no one's dominating baseball if you think about it. I mean, every league is pretty close now. Do you think there's any reason for that? Do you think maybe the pitch clock and the batter clock has anything to do with that? Because baseball is pretty even right now, up and down.
It is even, somewhat even. I mean, I would say this: the Rays and the Rangers they're here in the American League. I don't think there's a very many teams. Maybe Houston, if they can finally kind of figure things out. So, I mean, I think the Rays and the Rangers are like the top of the class in the AL. I think it's going to be very hard to beat those two. In the NL, I think is a little bit more closer. Like, but I mean, I don't know. Miami, they have one of the better records in the NL. I don't know if the pitch clock has to do with anything. I read somewhere, or I saw somewhere, that the pitch clock might be bad for like some of the older veteran pitchers who are having to move so much faster than they're normally used to, right? But I don't know if the pitch clock or the bigger bases or anything like that has to do with much of the like evenness in the game of baseball. But it is cool to watch teams that normally like suck are actually competitive. Even the Oakland A's have just won 6 in a row. So it's like there are so many teams that are playing well, and it's fun to watch, because I mean, if if you're a fan of a team that just absolutely just is garbage, it's a long summer. It's boring. It's it's hard. It's not like football where it's every week. It's literally every single day, and you're just watching bad baseball. So I'm glad there's so much competitive baseball in for sure. It's just incredible.
And it should get interesting in September because now with the way they expanded the playoffs, you can have like 13 or 14 teams involved, and like you said before, there's so much teams that are in it. It's going to make baseball exciting the last couple of months versus years ago, like a lot of fans probably checked out by August 1st.
Yeah, especially with the added wild card and more teams are in it. It gives them incentive to at the trade deadline to actually go all in instead of just selling off. A lot of people were like, "Oh, that kind of waters down the game." I'm like, "No." If you look at basketball, NBA, like half the teams get in, and then football just added another playoff spot. So I think it's great for sports. Yeah, man. It's still early in the season, but playoff baseball's it's the best. I love playoff baseball.
Now you mentioned your I guess favorite player to watch, Ohtani.
Yeah.
Now the Angels are only 6 games back, so you're not out of it. So you don't think they would trade him, but you think any possibility they trade him in this season?
If they trade him, I mean, it'd be such a bad PR move, I think, because he sells so many jerseys. I think he's the best player in baseball. If not, he's definitely the face. I think yesterday he hit 2 more home runs. He's like leading the AL in home runs. They should trade him, but they probably won't.
Yeah, now he's going to hit free agency. Obviously, he's probably get top dollar. I mean, there's probably 3 or 4 teams going to go after him. Just in the back, I mean, just whatever, throw it out there. Who do you think is going to try to sign him?
I don't know. I think the Mets might get him, or the Dodgers. I think he likes staying in LA. I think he likes California. If he signs with the Dodgers, he doesn't have to travel anywhere. He can still keep the same place and all that. I think the Dodgers have a really good shot, but I won't count out the Mets, man. They just spend so much money. It hasn't helped them. Like they are still losing, but I feel like they might need to make one more splash, like their owner. Yeah, I think Dodgers or the Mets, unless there's some like, where do you think they'll go?
Actually, I would agree with you. I just think the Dodgers, like the Mets have Steve Cohen now, and he wants to spend a ton of money. He has no problem spending a ton of money.
He doesn't care.
Yeah, but I think the LA thing has an appeal to Ohtani because he's kind of already there a little bit. And again, a lot of Japanese people and tourists, when they come from Japan, they either go to Seattle because they're used to Ichiro, or they go to LA. So I just think he has that fan base and that connection. And of course, LA. They've, even though like the last couple seasons, the Dodgers haven't really been the same type of Dodgers, but I think they've been the Dodgers have been splurging. Like they let Kyle Seager go, they let Trey Turner, Justin Turner go. I'm sorry, there. Like, I think they've been saving. I think they're going to make the big splurge for Ohtani. So if I had to predict, I would say it's going to be the Dodgers, and I'm actually okay with that as a Yankee fan because I don't want Ohtani, even though it'd be kind of exciting a little bit, but I don't want him in like the Aaron Judge's backyard, and of course there'll be all the back and forth, all the time. I'd rather have Ohtani out of town somewhere else.
Yeah, and I think if I'm Ohtani, the Dodgers, they have a really good shot of being competitive for like a while still. I mean, the rookie Bobby Miller, he's 4-0 with like a .86 ERA or something like that. And he's only pitched 4 games, but he looks incredible. And like I know they had a lot of injuries on their pitching side of things, and they call him up, and he just looks like he's dominant. They have a lot of young talent still, and they have money to spend. So I think Shohei, with Mookie Betts and all those guys, like if he wants to win, which he hasn't won since he's been in Los Angeles or Anaheim, I guess. I think if he really wants to win, I think the Dodgers would be the spot, and they have the money to do it. And he's going to get like broken off. Like they're going to give him, it's going to be like stupid money. Like it's going to be insane how much he gets.
Yeah, I've heard predictions because I think right now what he generates and everything, he's worth like $50 million a year. So yeah, he might be like the first $50 million a year player. Now the Brewers, obviously, you kind of adopted them as your team, but maybe a lot of Yankee fans are watching this. Maybe they don't, because again, Yankees Brewers like kind of worlds apart. Like, how are Brewers fans? How's the Brewer culture? Is there any like cool things about being a Brewer fan that you would know that you could share?
Yeah, no, absolutely. One, like I mean, if you think about Wisconsin, like beer drinking, like the tailgates are they have a really good tailgate environment. They have the Bernie slide in the and out in the outfield, you can kind of squeeze. I don't know how you do it, but people can slide down there, and they do it every home run. They'll slide down. They've had a lot of injuries. Brandon Woodruff, probably one of the biggest ones, like one of the best pitchers in baseball. He's been out for a while, and obviously they had that Hader trade last season, which kind of derailed the rest of the season last year. And now it's the Corbin Burns thing. Like, where is he going to go? He's going to be a free agent soon. Like, are they going to trade him? I know Yankee fans probably would love to have him on their team, as any contending team would like to have him. So they're kind of in that, like, do we trade him? Like, are we, like, they're kind of in that whole limbo thing as well. But the good thing for the Brewers is that the NL Central is bad. Like, the Pirates are good, but they're not going to run away. The Cardinals, they haven't been good. The Reds, like, they might actually catch up, because last time I checked, they were 4 or 5 games out, and they have a lot of young talent coming up. So I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if the Reds somehow sneak up and catch up to the Brewers, or at least stay competitive in that Central. But the good thing for the Brewers is that the Central, nobody's running away with it. Like, it's wide open, and it will be the whole season. So if they were in any other division, except maybe the AL Central, the Twins and the Indian Guardians are also pretty bad too, that division. But yeah, so I think that's kind of in their favor, is that they have a chance to just not lose the division.
All right, Francisco. Well, I appreciate getting this time. Again, keep up good work. Your videos are awesome. Again, people can follow you on Instagram at Baseball Grind Pod, as well as Twitter, baseball_grind. That damn I is missing, but whoever that person is, go on them. But
I'll find them.
But your stuff's great, and I encourage people, and keep up the good work. And again, your interviews are great. With the minor leaguers and all, and good luck with the podcast.
Man, I love it, and thanks for having me on. I'm always down to talk baseball. So if you ever need someone to come on again just to talk some baseball, let me know. I'm in.
You got it.